Hey guys, this is Xavier, and today I'm going to talk to you about memory's effects on message integrity. Please take a minute to look at this image. Okay, so there are two perspectives at least. One starts at the printer and works its way to the right. The other starts at the stick figure at the right and works its way to the lowest stick figure on the left. Either way, the message is the same. Now, the first element I'd like to talk about is Pinocchio. Geppetto made him out of wood, wishes for him to be a real boy. He becomes animated, and over the course of the story, he proves he is good enough to be a real boy. When he lies, however, his nose grows. His nose symbolizes untruthfulness, while he, as a young boy, symbolizes innocence. He serves the image so as to show that the image is innocent, the image meaning his image, is innocent to its untruthfulness, since it can't produce itself. Now, in this first image, you see Pinocchio uh, with a texture that it's made in, that I put him in there like, um, and it's the original. It's great. It's normal. Now, if we go on to the next one, you notice that that texture is gone. You see a lot of white noise. You can still tell he's there because everything else is pretty well um, integrated into the image, but everything that isn't too integrated, like the texture, is gone. The next thing is you can see that there's less definition. It is much more grainy, much more white noise, and if you've been noticing, the nose has been growing. Right now, it's pretty much at its midpoint. The next image shows the nose a lot bigger. You can tell it's much more gray. There's a lot of white noise. Um, about the only things that you can definitely make out are the hands, nose, hat, all of the bigger things. In the next image, there's a lot more gray. It is blurry. You can barely tell the eyes. You can definitely tell the nose is growing much more, and you get an idea of the figure. And in this last image, held by the lower stick figures, uh, is the last Pinocchio with the nose, if you could even tell, at its full extent. And it's not just gray, but it's also pixelated. You can't really tell much of anything. You can almost barely tell the gloves and the collar. Now, this specific stick figure is the producer. The other ones are, of course, the audience. And what the producer is doing is he is making copies of copies using the printer. Now, the stick figures symbolize anonymity. Anyone and everyone is capable of making the mistakes from being forgetful, both the producers and the audience. The producer, however, is performing the action of making copies from copies. He is actively showing the lack of memory since he isn't using the original as he should. Now, the printer, which is also in the same area, symbolizes digital mediums. It serves the image by showing that it will do whatever it is told to do by the user, even if it means to make copies of copies. The cake on the printer It's a reference to the video game's Portal, where the user can find scribblings on walls that say the cake is a lie. The reason for this is because a robot named GLaDOS promises cake at the end of the user's mind-bending trials. This is later proven false because the robot tries to bake you in a fire instead of a cake while telling you the cake is in the fire. This message represents fallacy. Thus, I've made it the company emblem for that printer, giving the printer less credit for truthfulness. Now, in the next image, or next section, I'm going to talk about the front pillars. They represent the amount of truth still within the message. The higher it is, the more truth it knows about the message. The printer is the highest since it has a greater ability to retain information and recall it, although it too can play a hand in producing false messages. Notice that no complete pillar reaches the top of the image. Besides the fact that if it did, we wouldn't be able to see what's on top since it would be out of the frame. Any pillar that would reach the top would mean that it would have 100% message integrity. Since no one and nothing is perfect aside from whatever religious entity you subscribe to, no one and nothing has a full sized pillar. The back pillars, if you've noticed, also vary. The colors are the same on them, however, the structures are not. These pillars have the same attributes, meaning they basically are the same thing, except that they are meant to show the same thing in a different way. At the far right, they start off as one full structure. As your eyes move towards the left, the pillars in the back start to become segmented little by little until nearly everything is fragmented. This shows things going from orderly to chaotic, or from an anabolic state to a catabolic state, if you prefer to see it in a biological point of view, since biologic entities are half of the argument in memory. Now, the next thing I'd like to point out are the colors. At the bottom, you'll notice the white and black. The pillars get darker from right to left. White represents purity. As we look towards the left, it portrays greater and greater impurity. This is important because to be pure is to be whole, and to be whole is to be complete. So as it moves towards the left, it portrays a message that is less and less complete. At the top, we have white to blue. Again, the color changes from white to a darker color. This time, however, is blue. In this case, white represents full knowledge, one interpretation, and blue represents multiple possible avenues of knowledge, many possible interpretations. Okay, now we can change the image. The other six figures represent a game of telephone, where one with the original message passes a message to the other, and then he passes a message to another, and so on and so forth. As the process continues, the message becomes more and more distorted until it is unrecognizable. As a whole, the message works to show the memory plays a part in message integrity from either. The reason I chose to draw it out while borrowing a few images from Google Images was because I felt it allowed me to show the meaning of the image with greater flexibility, so that the message could be expressed in the highest integrity possible. Now about the paper. What I wrote in the paper was that memory is a process of encoding, storing, and retrieving information. I mentioned that the message can often be portrayed incorrectly simply because we are forgetful beings. I do, however, mention that even machines go through a type of forgetfulness. The data they process can become corrupt due to hardware failure or just lots and lots of use. I also mentioned that public memory as a mass is useful but can become an issue if the mass accepts a fallacy as truth. Many would argue that one political party is always prone to the untruths of their leaders. Others would say that all leaders are untruthful. But with so much confusion, it's easy to accept anything but the actual truth, since the actual truth may be too hard to find out. So, in conclusion, what I'm trying to get across is that uh, without adequate amount of memory, uh, the message can be blurred and communication uh, may cease to exist over a specific period of time. Thank you.